First Book of the Kings, session 41. And we saw that Asa is now following up after Abijam, who follows up after Rehoboam. And he did a couple of really good things, but unfortunately, as we saw in verse 14, he did not remove the high places. But for the rest of the works of Asa, his heart was perfect with Yhwh all his days. So from all the kings since the time of David, he's the first one that's actually a lot like his great grandfather. And he brought in the things which his father had dedicated, and the things which he himself had dedicated into the house of Yhwh, silver, gold, and the vessels. And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. That's amazing, since the time of Cain and Abel, Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau, Joseph and all his brothers. This war of the seeds, coming from the same loins, coming from the same father, coming from the same God. And yet there's war between the brothers all the days of their lives. Since Israel and Judah split into two nations, there's never been peace between them up to today. If you visit Israel and you speak to the Jews there, if you visit the country or the state of Israel, the political state, not the nation, and you tell them, the Bible talks about Ephraim and Manasseh, the 10 northern tribes. The Bible calls it, the prophets, not the New Testament, calls them the lost sheep of the house of Israel. They are scattered into all the Gentile world. But in the last days, they will remember the covenant and they will come back. You cannot understand how angry and aggressive the Jews become, the house of Judah. Many of the Jews living there today are not really from the house of Judah. That's another very long rabbit hole. But no matter where you find a Jew in the world, if you tell them that you think you might be part of the lost tribes, that you think you might be part of the Gentiles that are grafted back into the covenant of the God of Abraham, and that Abraham, the father of many nations, is also your father, and you are keeping the covenant of the God of Abraham, they get so angry. And that's why the Bible says the vexing of Judah and the jealousy of Ephraim will only stop when the Messiah brings back the kingdom and restores the kingdom back. They get so angry and they say, no, those are not laws for anyone else but for the Jews. The whole Bible or the whole Old Testament is just for the Jews. So there's many things that Jews and Christians don't agree with, but at least they agree about that the Old Testament is only for the Jews and the New Testaments are for you Christians. But then people like we, who understand this war between the house of Judah and the house of Israel, who understand all these covenants and all these prophecies and warnings and promises and examples in history that God gives us of the Gentile nations that actually carry the seed of Israel. And Israel, once they shema and turn back, can be indeed restored back to the covenant of Yhwh, and eventually, near the end, be restored with the house of Judah to be one nation again, with one king over them, even my servant David, which we've seen so many times is Yeshua. But they don't read the Old Testament themselves. They just go upon what the rabbis and the Talmud says anyway. So if they only read what we are reading, if the Jews can only read with us all these historical writings from Genesis all the way to Kings where we are, it is a consistent teaching over and over again that the two brothers must stop their fighting. Cain and Abel, Isaac and Ishmael, Jacob and Esau. There's always this, the war of the seed. And it's not like one is the seed of Satan and one is the seed of God. We are both, or both brothers, both houses are from the same original tree. And yet they are fighting like they are enemies. And through the rest of the chronicles, the writings, the recordings of the kings, and all the things that happened between Judah and Israel, up to the point where they are both taken into exile, we see this consistent war between these two brothers from the same man, Jacob, and Jacob's father Isaac, and the grandfather Abraham. And yet, instead of joining one another, being ichat, being one nation under God, fighting against the real enemies out there that are fighting each other. And we see this all the time. We see this in our country where, blacks are put against whites, and Christians against Muslims, and Democrats against liberals. And at the end of the day, these are satanic agendas to each people against one another. While we as people are actually all created by one God, and we need to stand together against the deception and the agenda of Satan out there. But we don't see his agenda. We don't see how he is puppeteering this fighting against one another, this fighting amongst brothers. We don't see that. We only see what our brother does wrong. And we only see the difference between me and the guy next to me. So we fight with each other. And we've only got our own pride and our own kingdom that we are building. So therefore you fight against that guy because his kingdom is not right, mine is right. My belief, my religion, my this, my that, my color, my whatever. Instead of realizing there is a bigger agenda at play, just die to yourself. Submit to Yahuwah's law. Be honest with your own mistakes. And be willing to expose your own heart so that the deception, the sin, the iniquities, the selfishness can be exposed. And ask Yahuwah to take out your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh and write his eternal covenant on it and make peace with your brother. Because that is the will of Yahuwah. And then Yahuwah can maybe start blessing his people again. But we are fighting so much against Judah, is fighting so much against Israel. But now Judah wants to run to Yahuwah, please help us. And Israel wants to run to Yahuwah, please help us. But we are not even fulfilling the most basic requirements of Yahuwah's covenant, which was made with all 12 tribes. The covenant is for all 12 tribes because Yahuwah's kingdom is built upon the principle of 12. That's why he made sure there was 12 sons. The foundation of the New Jerusalem is 12. The effort of the high priest that is wearing on his heart when he represents God's people before God's mercy seat is 12. The constellations are 12. The months of the year is 12. Everything revolves in the cycle as Yahuwah originally created it. And as we fight our own individual wars, we are not focusing on Yahuwah's kingdom, but on our own man-made kingdoms. The house of Judah and the house of Israel is man-made. It was never God's will that this must happen, but God knew it was going to happen. He knows everything, and he prophesied about this. But together with the prophecies, he's forever giving us the alternative we have, even as far back as Genesis. Because Jacob, after he split his family, when he came into the promised land, his family was restored. It was one camp again. And we see that consistently over and over again. So there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all the days. And Baasha, king of Israel, so remember we've got Rehoboam, Abijam, and Asa, kings of Judah. And we see in 14 verse 30, there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days. And then when Abijam took over from Rehoboam, we see there was war between Abijam and Jeroboam all their days. And then Maacah took over from Jeroboam Asa took over from Abijam after Rehoboam, and now there was war between Asa and Maacah all their days. Sorry, Maacah was the name of the mother of Asa. And Baasha took over from Jeroboam. And now there's war between Asa and Baasha. So Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah. He built Ramah that he might not suffer anyone to go out or to come in to Asa, king of Judah. So just like Jeroboam, Baasha also built another high place, another little town, and he wanted people to go there, the people of the house of Israel, instead of going to Jerusalem. So they don't go in or come out to Asa, king of Judah, in Jerusalem. He preferred that his people stayed with him, and he built them high places just like his forefather Jeroboam did. Then Asa took all the silver and gold that were left in the treasure of the house of Yhwh and the treasures of the king's house, and delivered them into the hand of his servants. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, the son of Tabrimom, the son of Hezion, king of Syria, that dwelt in Damascus, and he said, so now what is Asa doing? He's taking all the silver and gold that's left in the treasure of the house of Yhwh and in the treasures of the king's house. So he did take all the dedicated things into the house of Yhwh, but all the treasures that was left in the treasure house, in the vaults, he sent to the king of Syria, and he said, there must be a league or a covenant or an agreement or a contract between me and you, between my father and your father. Behold, I have sent unto you a present of silver and gold. Come and break your league with Baasha, king of Israel, so that he may depart from me. Yhwh has warned his people over and over again, even in the Torah. He warned the kings, do not go to the Gentiles, to the pagans, to your enemies. Do not go to them to find strength in numbers or to make leagues with them, to marry their daughters, to worship their gods with them, but even to go with war, to go to war with them. Don't pull in the same yoke, the New Testament says, with an unbeliever. Don't go and put your trust in the nations around you. Yahweh said, to Moses and Joshua, destroy the nations around you. But instead of destroying, Judah now wants to go and make a league, a contract, a working agreement with the nations, with Syria. Look at Syria today. Where's this league? Where's this contract between Judah and Syria today? Today, Judah and Syria is still fighting to the death. Don't make leagues with the pagan nations. You're supposed to rather ask your brother for forgiveness and rather just become one nation. What's really stand back into the history books? It was just about taxes. Sort the taxes out. Break down all these high places that Jeroboam has built. Break down the golden calves and kill the false priests if they don't repent, and just become one nation again. And then you are so much stronger to stand against the enemies. But no, here I'm going to, give you a bribe. King of Syria, I'm going to bribe you with all this gold and silver. I want you to stand against my brother, Baasha, the king of Israel, and I want you to make a league with me. So Ben-Hadad listened unto King Asa and sent the captains of the hosts which he had against the cities of Israel, and he smote Ijon and Dan and Abel Beth Maacah. This is probably a name that's similar to Maacah, the mother of Asa. Interesting, eh? And all of Cinneroth, with all the land of Naphtali. So these are all the northern areas. These are towns in the northern areas where the house of Israel is living. And it came to when Baasha heard thereof, that he stopped building Ramah. He was busy putting up that city. And he dwelt in Tirsha. This makes me think of a town that David also went to, remember, to find safety when he was also running away. Then King Asa made a proclamation. So King Asa of Judah made a proclamation throughout all of Judah. Nothing was exempted. And they took away the stones of Ramah and the timber thereof, wherewith Baasha was busy building. And King Asa built with the stones and the timber that Baasha was using to build Ramah. He then built Geba of Benjamin and Mishpah. So Geba and Mishpah in the area where Benjamin was dwelling. Remember, Benjamin is together with Judah. And these two towns are built from the ruins of the construction material of Ramah. The rest of the acts of Asa and all his might and all that he did and the cities which he built, are they not written in the books of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? Nevertheless, in the time of his old age, he was diseased in his feet. So we see that besides the fact that he didn't break down the high places, but otherwise his heart was perfect before Yhwh, the high place that he left as a thorn in the side of the people of Judah, because he didn't destroy the high places, and I think also because he was high-minded against his brother Israel, and he made leagues with the enemies around him. The lowest part of his body then got diseased. His feet got diseased. Quite interesting, there, this high and low dichotomy that we see. Now Asa slept with his fathers and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, his father. Now Jehoshaphat, his son, reigned in his place. All right, so we've got Rehoboam, Abijam, Asa, and now we've got Jehoshaphat. These are the first four kings of Judah. Now, Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, began to reign over Israel in the second year of Asa, king of Judah. And Nadab reigned over Israel 2 years. Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, did evil in the sight of Yhwh, and he walked in the ways of his father Jeroboam, and in his sin, wherewith he made Israel to sin. So we've got Jeroboam, and then his son took over from him, Asa. Now, Nadab, we're going to get confused with all these names. Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, took over from him in the same time that Asa was reigning in Judah. And now Baasha, the son of Ahijah of the house of Issachar, conspired against him, and Baasha smote him at Gibbeton, which belongs to the Philistines, for Nadab and all of Israel laid siege to Gibbeton. So this is where Baasha comes from. This is how we see him spring up in verse 16. There was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all the days. Baasha killed Nadab, the son of Jeroboam. So we've got Jeroboam and then Nadab, and now we've got Baasha, king over Israel. This happened in the third year of Asa, king of Judah, that Baasha slayed Nadab, and he reigned in his place. And it came to pass when he reigned that he smote all the house of Jeroboam. So Baasha killed all the family members of Jeroboam to make sure that he left not any one of Jeroboam that breathed, until he destroyed them all, according unto the saying of the Yhwh, which he spoke by his servant Ahijah the Shilonite. Remember, Yhwh said, because of the sins of Jeroboam, which he sinned, and which he made Israel to sin, by his provocation wherewith he provoked Yhwh, the Elohim of Israel, to anger. So, if Jeroboam could have stayed true to Yhwh, Yhwh decided to give him the 10 tribes. His heart was for Yhwh. But because of his fear and his pride, he decided to build the 2 golden calves and the high places, because he was afraid the house of Israel will go back unto Rehoboam when they go to worship during the feast days in Jerusalem. And because of that sin, Yhwh cannot allow his sons to reign, to be kings over Israel for the rest of, as long as Israel is there. Yhwh made a covenant with David. There will always be a descendant of David on the throne. And Jeroboam would have received the same kind of beautiful promise from Yhwh, but he didn't stay true. And neither did his son Nadab, that also did evil in the sight of Yhwh. So therefore Yhwh allowed Baasha to kill all the descendants of Jeroboam. Now the rest of the acts of Nadab, remember Nadab is the son of Jeroboam that was killed by Baasha. The rest of his acts and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? So like I said, if you read through the books of the Chronicles, Chronic 1 and 2 Chronicles, you'll actually get a lot more context of all the other things they did and all the cities they built and all that. So we continue with chapter 16, prophecy against Baasha. So this is now Baasha who killed Nadab, the son of Jeroboam. The word of Yhwh came to Yhwh, the son of Hanani, against Baasha, and he said, "For as much as I exalted you out of the dust, and made you prince over my people Israel," remember Yhwh allowed him to take over from Nadab after he killed him, "you have walked in the way of Jeroboam. You've made my people Israel to sin. You provoked me to anger with their sins." So instead of killing Jeroboam and his evil son and all his other descendants, and then starting over, starting fresh, starting with a better way, basically what Baasha did is, he did the same. He did the same. He didn't learn from the previous king's mistakes. And then you read Jeremiah, and we're still going to get to Jeremiah as well. Jeremiah was an amazing prophet during these times. And, Jeremiah all over is sent to Judah to speak to them. He's sent to Israel. Hosea, the prophets are sent to Israel to try and speak to them, to warn them, turn back to Yhwh. Turn your hearts back to Yhwh. Make peace with your brothers. Stop this provoking Yhwh to anger with all your false, evil, satanic, demonic, pagan worship and high places. God says through the prophet Jeremiah, in Jeremiah 13 verse 18, "Say unto the king and to the queen, humble yourselves. Humble yourselves. Otherwise, all your iniquities is going to come down on your crowns." So Yhwh said, "No, you don't want to listen to me. So I will take away the posterity of Baasha, the seed, the children, the sons, the genealogy. And I will take away the posterity of his house, and I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam and like the house of Nabat." So as you killed all the descendants, the posterity of Jeroboam, so your descendants and your posterity, your house, your name, will basically be wiped away. "Him that died of Baasha in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that died of his in the field shall the fowls of the air eat." So Yhwh said, all the family of Baasha is going to be killed. Whether they're killed in the city or in the field, it doesn't matter. In the city, the dogs will eat their bodies. In the field, the vultures will eat it. There's going to be nothing left. Now, the rest of the acts of Baasha and what he did and his might, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? So Baasha died, he slept with his fathers, and he was buried in Tirsha. And Elah, his son, reigned in his stead. And also by the hand of the prophet Jehu, the son of Hanani, came the word of Yhwh against Baasha and against his house, even for all the evil that he did in the sight of Yhwh, to provoke him to anger with the work of his hands, in being like the house of Jeroboam, because he killed him. All right, so now we've got the next king, Elah, over Israel. So while Asa, king of Judah, is still reigning in Judah, now we've got Elah taking over from Baasha. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, began to reign Elah, the son of Baasha, in Israel, and he stayed in Tirsha, and he reigned for 2 years. And his servant Zimri, captain of half of his chariots, conspired against him, as he was in Tirsha, drinking himself drunk in the house of Arsha, steward of his house in Tirsha. And Zimri went in and he killed him and he smote him in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah. And Zimri, who was captain of the chariots for Elah, killed Elah, and now Zimri becomes king over Israel. And this all happens all the time while Asa was king over Judah. And now Zimri is king over Israel. Came to pass when Zimri began to reign, as soon as he sat on his throne, that he slew all the house of Baasha. So this is where the prophecy comes true, and Zimri now kills all the descendants of the house of Baasha. He left him not one that pisses against the wall, neither of his kinsfolk, neither of his friends. So not only did Zimri kill all the family and the sons and the descendants of Baasha, but even his friends. Wow. Even his nieces and nephews and uncles and aunts, all his family. Thus did Zimri destroy all the house of Baasha, according to the word of Yhwh, which Yhwh spoke against Baashu through Yhwh the prophet. So, yeah, this is a lot to keep in mind with. It's a lot to keep track of. But, it's quite interesting. For me, this history is interesting. When I was still in church, you read through this history, it's so boring. But now that you understand how the kingdom of Yhwh is split in two and how we are so much more a part of this than we could ever have understood, now that we understand the covenant and the restored covenant, the renewed covenant, which is for the house of Israel, who was scattered into the Gentile nations and must be brought back to be one nation again with Judah. And we see this whole tale, this whole historical story of these two houses, Judah and Israel, and how they fight against each other, and what each king does, and what he does to the previous king's descendants, and all the cities that he builds, and all the paganism that he brings into God's own people. And we look at the world today and we see all the kings and the queens and all the political leaders and how they are bringing paganism into the people of the world today, and how they are conspiring and provoking Yhwh to anger. And we read the prophecies Yhwh has made against these kings, how they each one comes true. And we can see the prophecies that Yhwh has made against the kings of the earth in the last days. And we know that's going to come true as well. Yhwh is consistent. His word is consistent. There's nothing boring in the Bible. We see one king after the other ascending from the previous one. And we see how Judah and Israel is just going deeper and deeper into their descent away from Yhwh. But every now and again, we find a beautiful man, a beautiful prince that actually does destroy all the evil of the kings before him and brings the glory and the worship of Yhwh back. But it's almost like 98% of all the kings were evil. It's so illogical. You've got the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph in you. You've got the original Judah, the original Simeon, Levi. These men were zealous for Yhwh. You've got the word of Yhwh. You've got Moses, Joshua. You've got the judges, Deborah and Othniel and Samson. You've got all these men in your loins. It's part of your genealogy. How can you be so rebellious against this beautiful God? It is just, it just surpasses my understanding. Let's quickly finish the reign of Zimri. For all the sins of Baasha, in the sins of Elah, his son, which they have sinned, by which they made Israel to sin, and to provoke Yhwh, the Elohim of Israel, to anger with all their vanities and their paganism, for that Zimri destroyed them. Now the rest of the acts of Elah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? In the 27th year, while Asa, the king of Judah, was busy reigning, in that period, Zimri reigned for 7 days in Tirsha. And the people were encamped against Gibeon-thon, which belonged to the Philistines. And the people that were encamped heard that it was said, Zimri have conspired and have slain the king. Therefore all of Israel made Omri, the captain of the host, king over Israel that day in the camp. All right. So while Zimri, the captain of the chariots, killed Elah the king, and he made himself king, he reigned for 7 days. Ha ha ha. In the meantime, Israel heard about this conspiracy, and then they took Omri, the captain of the host. So most probably the most brave soldier. He's the captain of all the soldiers, and they made him king. And it came to pass when Zimri saw that the city was taken, that he went into the palace of the king's house. He burnt the king's house over him with fire, and he died. Huh. So you're the king's house. I mean, how much time, money, and effort did David and Solomon put into building the king's house? Now this stupid Zimri, who reigned for only 7 days, burns this whole house. He commits suicide by burning himself alive. Go and burn yourself alive in the field for all I care. Why did you have to burn the king's house? Come on. For all the sins which he sinned in doing evil in the sight of Yhwh, in walking in the ways of Jeroboam, and in the sins which he did to make Israel to sin. That's why he died. Now, the rest of the acts of Zimri and all the treason that he wrought, is it not written about him and his treason in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? All right, we come this far. 1 Kings 16, verse 20, and we'll continue tomorrow with the rest of the kings of Judah and Israel. That is such a deep and interesting prophetic picture of the split kingdom of Yhwh, the earthly kingdom. So I pray, as Yeshua taught us, Father, let your kingdom come, your kingdom as it is in heaven, your kingdom as you gave Moses the blueprint, your kingdom where your 12 tribes are encamped around your tabernacle. That's your kingdom. That's how it is in heaven. That's how you want it on earth. And that's how it's going to be in the end when the New Jerusalem comes down and we see the heavenly tabernacle coming down. And God finally, the Bible says, will tabernacle with his people. Let your kingdom come, Father. Let the pagan Gentiles who hear your call turn back and shema and start being grafted back into the olive tree. Let the lost children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob start coming back and bring an end to the blindness of Judah. I know it's not time yet, but we start praying for your ultimate fulfillment of your prophecies so that your kingdom can come, your will can be done, and your name, Yahuwah, can finally be glorified on earth as it is